You are watching the Doctalk show.
An important aspect when it comes to a breastfeeding mother is her nutrition. So I want to ask our experts in studio, which are the best foods a mother can take in order to improve her breast milk production? Dr. Doreen, given your experience as a breastfeeding expert, I'm sure many mothers have asked you this question. Which are the best foods they should eat? Which are the best foods?
Now, food has a role to play there because the milk is made from the food the mother eats. That's an important thing. But even if you eat the best foods, which are said to increase breast milk, if you're not removing enough milk or removing it effectively, you're not going to be able to get the supply you want. Okay. And so, yes. And so, remember when we talked about initiating breastfeeding within the first hour? That's a demand. That's a direct demand. Getting the baby onto the breast, ensuring that the baby is latched very well, ensuring that the mother is not having any pain or any such issues are very important in creating a demand. So mothers out there, I need you to understand that creating a demand on the body to make milk is not just about food. It's about what the body is putting out and what is being removed. And when I say being removed, I mean how much milk is the baby sucking at the breast. And that is very important when you're talking about breast milk production or increasing production. So if I might speak to a mother out there in this regard, these are some of the things you can do. Number one, ensure that someone, a lactation specialist or a midwife who is skilled, observes you breastfeeding to see how the baby's lips are placed on the areola, because babies should not attach on the nipple. So if someone can observe you and support you and help you and say, this is how you can improve, maybe flange the baby's lips out. Ensure that the nipple is far into the mouth and not just rather the nipple is far into the baby's mouth and not just at the lips. That's a very critical thing.
So the breastfeeding
very important, extremely important, actually the most important. Okay. And so also if the baby is having issues in the mouth, the commonest is a tongue tie. And I had sores more than once, and they made breastfeeding such a hassle. It was painful. Breastfeeding is not supposed to be painful. I had low supply, and I found out that that was the issue. But I've seen mothers who come to us, and when the child has a tongue tie, it can be surgically cut to help the tongue move. Okay. And to train, yes. And so it removes things like sores, pain, and when a mother is in pain, they cannot keep putting the baby on their breast. It's traumatizing. And I know there are mothers out there who have pain breastfeeding. Pain is not normal. Have someone observe you, examine the baby, examine you. It could be things like an infection on the nipple. The commonest is candidiasis, very easy to treat. And just removing that obstacle is enough to help the mother make more milk.
Okay. All right. But I still think nutrition may have a critical role to play, because also evidence shows a malnourished mother is not able to produce breast milk. So the question is, what foods can they eat to improve their breast milk? Dr. Kenna, would you want to answer that?
Yes, you have to get protein like beef, chicken, fish. You have to get carbohydrates like posho, rice, then greens also inclusive there. So you have to get a balanced diet. You have to get greens, you have to get the proteins, you have to get the carbohydrates and fluids. Because you're not going to take only the food without drinking. Drinking also is very important for a pregnant, for a mother who is breastfeeding. Because majority of the bigger proportion of milk actually is water. So a mother needs to drink a lot of fluids.
Okay. So balanced diet
actually
and good hydration.
Now, in terms of quantity, people have different capabilities of eating. Some people eat little, some people eat a lot. What matters is you have to balance. You eat a little of this, and it makes a bigger portion.
Okay. So you mean like at any meal, let's say it is lunch.
Yes.
What should they put on the plate?
You have to what contains protein, what contains carbohydrates, what contains vitamins, right? And then fluids.
And fluids.
So you balance. And to make it better is that a mother who is breastfeeding should actually eat at least 4 times in a day.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about specifically some myths regarding the breastfeeding. Why the trends are changing. Why are some mothers opting not to breastfeed? They might have certain misconceptions that now would be the ideal time to correct.
Pain at the nipple and pain within the breast. That is not normal. Pain within the abdomen where the uterus is normal because the uterus is contracting, going back to its normal size. That is a common thing. It happens. That's normal. But at the breast and the nipple, you need to find someone to help you with that pain. Number 2, mothers sometimes believe that they need to eat a lot of food in order to make milk. Like we have already said, and I allude to what Dr. Akena has already said, what you need is a balanced diet. There is no so-called breastfeeding diet. What you need is a diet with a variety of foods that are locally available within your reach. Even the pregnancy weight that you carry from pregnancy, the body is going to use that extra weight to make milk. And that is why breastfeeding is important for people to go back to their pre-pregnancy weight. Okay. So it actually even helps with weight loss. The other misconception about breastfeeding is that things like wounds on the breasts are normal. If you have wounds on your nipples, there is a problem with latching. There is a problem with the way you're putting the baby on the breast. There is a technique problem. Okay. Well, one of the other myths is with mothers who are separated from their babies. What I mean is, say a mother has gone away for a work trip for a week, and she's breastfeeding. So she hasn't breastfed for a whole week. There's a common myth that the milk in the breast is spoiled, like it's gone sour. That is not true. The body will actually reabsorb what has not been used. And so the mother can actually get back home and start from where she stopped. She doesn't have to first express the milk out of, to remove it all and then start feeding the baby. That is a common myth. Some people believe that the milk from the mother who is breastfeed, the pregnant mother, is harmful to the toddler or harmful to the baby, and that that it will somehow affect the baby.
That the pregnancy is going to change the
exactly.
milk, the breast milk.
It actually does, but it does not affect the toddler. The toddler or the child who is breastfeeding can continue breastfeeding well. The only thing is that the supply will reduce, and also the milk will taste different. So you find some babies persist and continue breastfeeding, others wean themselves off. But otherwise, that is not a dangerous thing for a pregnant mother to continue breastfeeding. What she simply needs to do is nourish herself.
Okay, so thank you for that clarification. So you've heard it from the host now, breast milk is still very important. So after the break, we shall talk a bit more about the advantages and disadvantages of alternate feeding. If you do not want to breastfeed the child, what can you do? What are the merits? What are the demerits? Don't go away. We'll be back after the break.
You are watching the Doctalk Show. You are watching the Doctalk Show. In our future story today,
ideally for a normal baby, it's the breastfeeding channel is a little bit obvious, I think, for people who feel like when they give birth normally. Normally, I mean maybe naturally or C-section, and the child is full term. I've had 2 preterms, a twin, and also another boy. My breastfeeding is not less than a year, and yet my schedule involves me moving within the country, across the country, out of the country. However, as a mother, I breastfeed full term 6 months. My other areas how I manage to breastfeed, I pump. So my babies are normally fed exclusively for 6 months and then continue the breastfeeding channel throughout 1 year. Of course, with the weaning and additional foods. Because I'm a mother of full-term and preterm, I have seen differences and the magic that breastfeeding does. For example, it really supports the immunity of a child. Secondly, it makes a strong bond, very strong bond. Because basically, if you don't breastfeed, the child has a connection with a bottle. The child has a connection with a cup and a nanny that will come today and go out tomorrow. Breastfeeding, it has its magic in nutrients. Today, we are too friendly to the pharmacies. But think about it before. What were people doing? Today, the ladies are so conscious of their weight, conscious of their appearance, and in that way, they sacrifice the little one for the beauty. But you know, all of us, that beauty lasts for a short time, but the child will always be there mentally, psychologically. If you want a very sharp child, I can tell parents, breastfeed. As much as ladies want to keep up with their size, it's just a 1-year experience, and afterwards your life continues. So you have to major on the majors and minor on minors. And breastfeeding, for even those who breastfeed, for the ladies who want to lose weight faster, in fact, it is the magic. It contracts the stomach, it contracts your body weight, it's a better. So for me, breast milk has done it for me. I encourage mothers, for those who want to have breast milk, because I personally, I get a lot of breast milk. I take so much water, I rehydrate myself, then I take warm substances like warm water, hot tea to melt. To stimulate my breast milk, I have to take the maize porridge. And then there is the bitter, the small, they call it katunkuma. It also brings a lot of breast milk. At least those two I've tried, tested, and can work.
You are watching the Doctalk Show.
A common problem that breastfeeding mothers face is production of little breast milk. And this worries mothers a lot, that the milk they are producing in their breasts is so little to support the baby. As a result, they opt for alternative feeding, for example, using formula milk or other methods. So I want to talk more about little milk production and alternative feeding. Are there benefits and demerits to this idea of substituting breast milk for other feeds? Maybe Dr. Doreen, you can start us off in this point of little milk. I think that's one of the biggest problems many mothers face. So what exactly causes little milk production?
I think all through our discussion, we have been emphasizing the critical things that need to be done within the first hour to signal the brain to start producing milk, or to ensure that the baby is well fed. And in my clinical practice, I find that sometimes it's a misconception that there's little milk. The commonest reason why mothers substitute is because they perceive that milk is little. And for us as professionals, what we find is that a mother will tell you, I have very little milk. And when you ask her, how did you know you have little milk? She will tell you, I couldn't express any milk from the breast. And when you encourage her to show you the technique, you find the technique is wrong. And when you do it right, you find that there is milk coming out of the breast. A second thing is, if a baby ate, if a baby had enough, they will pass enough stool. So for us, what we do is we assess objectively by looking at how much stool is the baby passing on any given day. There is an amount that is expected. Okay. On the first day, for example, we expect the baby to pass 1 stool. That's sufficient. On the second day, we expect them to pass 2 stools. And usually the colors change. So if we find by the 5th day the color we expect is mustard yellow, and the baby is producing dark stools, then we know there is an issue with supply. But we will not wait up to the 5th day. We'll support the mother along the way.
Okay, so in other words, you can predict that they are producing enough milk from how much the baby,
Is
how much
passing
stool
out.
the baby is passing out.
Yes.
Okay, so what is the average amount you would say that a mother would say, okay, I think the milk is enough?
Well, with breastfeeding, you cannot assess accurately how much milk the baby is supposed to consume,
but I mean
or
like
how
from
much
the
milk the
stool.
baby is. Well, from the stool, you look at, is it at least a tablespoon of stool? That's enough stool for me to say that the baby is feeding adequately.
And
But
like 2 or 3 or 1 is enough?
one stool on the first day is adequate. 2 stools on the second day is adequate. 3 stools on the third day is adequate.
So it should be around 2 to 3 stools. That's when mothers can know there's enough milk production.
Exactly, but not on the first day.
Not
on the first day, it's 1 stool.
All right. So specifically addressing the issue of if genuinely by the 3rd, 4th day, the baby is producing little stool, so the mother is convinced there's little milk, what is happening?
Well, we also go a step further and check the baby's blood sugar. That is more objective than looking at a crying baby or the mother thinking it's not enough. We will look at the blood sugar. There are levels, as us clinicians, we look at and say, this level tells me this baby is getting enough if they are only feeding from the breast. We are not in the mother's room 24 hours, so we can't exactly say that they were only breastfeeding, but that's what we assume. But that blood sugar will tell us if this baby is getting enough or not. The other thing is mothers come with perceptions on what enough milk looks like. For example, a mother might expect on the first day that her breasts will be swollen, or that the milk which is coming out is just flowing out, randomly, which is not the case. And this information is available. We give it to mothers during the antenatal period, so that the mother is also at peace. She's not under stress, so that milk can easily flow, because stress affects hormones. So yes, there are cases where it's not true that the mother doesn't have milk. There are cases where it's actually true that the mother does not have enough milk. One of them is what they call primary lactation failure, meaning that the mother's breast did not develop well during puberty in order for her to be able to make milk. Okay. There are those kinds of mothers. I've met them, and there are not so many.
They can start using alternative feeding.
Yes.
Okay. So more about alternative feeding. So Dr. Kenna.
Currently, there are new developments. Either you get another mother who is breastfeeding to help in there, a donor breast milk, which is there.
Donor breast milk.
Yeah, which is now a practice for those who can.
It's kind of like donated milk.
The donated milk is there, or you have maybe a relative who is also having another child, can supplement, which is actually the practice which is going on now.
Is that a very safe procedure? Is that better than formula?
I
don't know if mothers would be comfortable that another mother is giving milk to feed their baby.
Actually, it is much, much better than a formula, because it is still breast milk. So you cannot compare breast milk with the formula. So whether from a different mother, it is still breast milk, and it is still good enough.
Okay.
It is almost like blood transfusion. If I get, you give me blood, it is still almost like my blood. So it still works equally well.
So how would you guarantee in this donor feeding, how would you guarantee that the milk coming from another mother is safe and doesn't have infections?
It is almost like the way blood from another person is safe. We do screening. Before a mother, you accept a milk from another mother. Of course, what we do is to do screen HIV, hepatitis, those other infectious diseases. You screen. Then when everything is okay, of course it is difficult to screen the milk. You cannot screen the milk, but you screen the mother. If the mother is okay, then you can get the milk. Well,
breast milk is for babies, for human babies. Cow milk is for cow babies, ideally. So actually, WHO has a hierarchy for substitution. So the best milk is from the mother at the breast, preferably. If that is not possible, then we will encourage the mother to express her own milk to feed the baby. This is very common in preterm babies, babies who cannot suck and things like that. Then we talk about wet nursing. So wet nursing is a culture that was there, earlier on before the onslaught of infectious diseases. But at that time, say someone in the community who was breastfeeding would breastfeed another woman's child if the mother, say, had passed away.
I think
So
that's
that's an
equivalent of the
alternative.
donor. That's the donor milk.
Wet nursing is direct at the breast.
Okay.
Yeah, it actually happens.
But it means another mother who is not the mother of the child,
Yes,
but is breastfeeding the
breastfeeds
child.
another child, yes.
Okay.
And then there is what Dr. Kena is talking about of donor milk. So milk is a very magical thing. It's actually called liquid gold, in very many circles. So milk that is expressed, let's say right now, is good for another 6 hours at room temperature. So at room temperature, that milk is good for the baby. It's not contaminated. It's not spoiled. It is good. And if that milk is kept at a lower temperature in a fridge, it is good for 3 to 5 days. So in 3 to 5 days, a baby can happily consume the milk his mother expressed. If a mother has a fridge which has one door, so fridges which have one door, so that, and it has a freezer compartment, if you collected that milk and put it in the freezer of such a fridge, it is good for 3 weeks. So within 3 weeks, the baby can happily consume that milk without us being worried. Frozen milk
Can
now.
last for 3 weeks.
Exactly, in that kind of a fridge. If a mother has a fridge which has 2 doors, so that you have a separate door for the freezer, that milk can stay for 3 months. So for 3 months, in that frozen state, as long as it's hard as ice, that milk is okay for the baby to consume. Now, if you go to a deep freezer, so this is a standalone unit as a deep freezer alone, milk is good for 6 to 12 months. So you see mothers who are separated from their babies either because of work or school can ably continue providing breast milk for the child even when they are away.
Okay.
And
so there's that constant supply. They don't have to use the alternative.
No, they don't have to.
formulas.
Now, infant formula cannot be compared to breast milk. It is not the same as breast milk. It is not as good as breast milk. It's made from cow milk.
Okay, so it's essentially cow milk.
Yes, but modified. So they dry it, but babies who take formula have challenges with things like constipation.
If a mother can't breastfeed, they can opt to express the milk and use the storage facilities available. So you've had breast milk, if you keep it in a freezer, in a deep freezer, it can last for as long as 6 months, so you don't have to worry about buying this formula milk. The experts advise breast milk is still the best food for the baby. Whether it's directly from the breast or it is via express milk, it is still safe and still the best option to feed your baby and ensure they grow into healthy children. So I want to thank you very much, our experts from TMR Hospital, Dr. Kena Wilfred, a gynecologist, obstetrician, and Dr. Doreen, who is an expert in lactation. It's the first time I've had this field of medicine, but still very important and very relevant in today's field of medicine. You've heard it from the expert's mouth. Breast milk is still the best feed for the baby. Ensure you breastfeed your baby at all times. The first 6 months exclusively, and thereafter you can start supplementing with other feeds. So we'll see you next time on the Doctalk show. If you have any challenges or questions regarding breastfeeding, are you a new mother and you have problems maybe with little milk production, send in your questions to us on social media. Our doctors will be very happy to respond to you. So we'll see you next time